What's going on YouTube? Josh here checking in. Finally getting around to making this review of the Push Strength wearable velocity training device. So if you're not familiar with this device, essentially it is a small device that you wear on your forearm that allows you to measure the velocity and the power of your movements. So we're talking about movements in the gym, anything from bench press to Olympic lifts to squats, etc. So I've had this device for about 3 months now, and I wanted to finally give my thoughts on how it's going and everything like that. So first off, how does this device work? As I mentioned, it's a Bluetooth device that you wear. It's got a nice user interface that connects with the Apple products. I'm not sure if it's available for Android at the moment, so I'm going to show you right now on the screen essentially how it works. So you select your exercise, and from there, essentially there's a large list of exercises. I think they've got about 100 or so, maybe even more than that, programmed into the device that it works with. So of these exercises, you select the exercise, you select the weight, and essentially from there, once you're paired with the Bluetooth, the device is ready to go. So prior to starting the lift, you can either push the button on the device or you push the button on your phone, and then it will start recording. When you're done, you hit the button again, and then you essentially review your set on the device. And from here, we'll give you measurements on velocity, on power, and it will also allow you to compare that information to your previous sets to see how you're progressing and how your velocity and your power are changing as you increase the weight or as you manipulate your volume or intensity throughout a workout. Now, the first thing I want to discuss when it comes to this device is the idea of accuracy and precision. Okay, so accuracy refers to essentially the idea of how close this is to an actual known value. For example, if I were to compare this to a gold standard measurement, how close would this device be to actually measuring the accurate speed? Now, ultimately, I don't have the answer to that. From my experience measuring bar speed with other devices, it seems to be pretty close, and I actually tried to compare it to measuring frame rate on the computer, and from what I could tell, it seems to be within the accurate speed, plus or minus about 1 to 2 hundredths of a second, which is pretty accurate for the most part when it comes to these devices. Now, the next thing is precision. Precision is essentially how close the measurements will be after you repeat it. So let's just say it's a little bit off on the accuracy, but as long as the measurements are precise and consistent throughout, that would be the most important thing, because essentially you're going to be comparing your data from the push strength to the push strength. It would be more important to be both accurate and precise if you're comparing the data from the push strength to on a different velocity-based training device. So from what I can tell, for the most part, the device is relatively precise. Every once in a while, I will get some anomalous numbers, which I think are just an issue with the algorithms that they use, and because of that, it's not perfect. The more expensive velocity-based training devices, such as the Tendo unit or the GymAware, which go for anywhere from $1,000 to a few $1,000s, definitely are a lot better on that standpoint. But ultimately, this device costs under $200. So all things considered, it's pretty good. I always recommend, if you're going to use this device, because the precision is not perfect, and you will get some anomalous numbers every once in a while, to record your lifts. You probably should be recording your lifts anyhow, just to make sure that you're performing with good form, etc. From there, if you're concerned that you might have an anomalous number, you can essentially count the number of frames that the rep took compared to the previous reps to see if it seems to be accurate or not. So of the exercises that I've had a chance to use this on, I've used it on basically any of the powerlifting movements: squat, bench, deadlift, variations of those, the overhead press, pull-ups, bent over rows, and barbell hip thrusts. So for the most part, it works very well for bench press. It works very well for squats and overhead press. If you have watched the channel for a while, you may have noted I posted a video about a month ago where the push strength was having some issues with the pause bench press. Fortunately, that was just an issue with the algorithm, and I emailed their sports scientists, and they were able to change the algorithm and fix that no problem. So that is one nice thing about this device. Ultimately, it is mostly limited by the software. So there are changes that are happening all the time with this application, which is really nice. They have a nice forum community on their website where you can propose ideas to improve the device. So they were able to fix that, and that was no longer an issue. The big issue I have with this device is essentially it is useless for the deadlift. That's right, useless for the deadlift. Essentially what happens is when you put the bar down in between each rep, the signal gets messed up from the Bluetooth because of the vibration on the ground. And as a result of that, the reps and the speed are completely off. What the current workaround is that Push Strength recommends is essentially dropping the weight at the top. Now, if you are not training at a CrossFit gym, that's probably not going to be acceptable, one. And two, if you ever plan on competing in powerlifting, for example, you obviously know that you're not allowed to do that, in which case it doesn't really make sense to drop a deadlift at the top just so you can measure the speed when it's not going to help you in your actual sport. So that is my big qualm with this device. For me, it's useful for 2 out of 3 movements that I need it for, and that's not really very good in my opinion. I haven't had a chance to use this with the Olympic lifts because I am not proficient in the Olympic lifts, so I can't comment on those, but for the other exercises it seems to be okay. Now, one last thing I just want to mention is, what is the utility of this device for you? Right? Are you a recreational athlete? Are you a competitive power lifter? Where do you fall on the spectrum? Are you an Olympic lifter? Are you a CrossFitter, etc., etc.? Now, if you're just a recreational gym goer and you want to get stronger, you want to get bigger, is this device going to help you get there? I would say probably not. It's very good to know where you're at in terms of your speed. It gives you some objective numbers. And ultimately, you always want to be moving the bar as fast as you can. You always want to see where you're at as far as fatigue, because you can also use the velocity-based training to determine your fatigue level and kind of auto-regulate your training. But for the average person going to the gym, this is not going to bring you to the next level. This device is really, in my opinion, geared more towards people who are athletes, people who are training, people who are really wanting to just get a few extra percent, maybe even percentages of a percent on your maybe powerlifting total, your Olympic lifting total, or in general if you're just an athlete competing in football, basketball, etc., at a very high level. There are currently several college and professional football teams using this device, as well as several other groups of high-level athletes. If you are not in that group, I honestly don't think that spending the $180 to $190 on this device is really going to help you out. I think that, if you're a data junkie, you just want to do it for fun, I think it's definitely cool to toy around with, and at that price point, it's not going to completely break the bank as it would with some of the other devices. So I apologize that this review went on for so long, but there was a lot to talk about. If you guys have any questions, be sure to comment below. Let me know if you guys use any velocity-based training devices, and if you've used a Push Strength, what are your thoughts on it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? And that's basically it. If I have any updates, if they're able to improve the deadlift functionality, I'll definitely post a video about that because, as I said, that is my biggest qualm. Anyway, guys, that's the video. I hope you liked it. Be sure to give it a like. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to share with your friends, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Should've told you I'm on one. Yeah, fuck it, I'm on one. Yeah, I said I'm on one. Fuck it, I'm on one. If somebody should've told you I'm on one. Yeah.